Okay, it's on. We're going. My name's Ryan, and wow, I'm happy to be here. One thing I can tell you is kind of weird. I feel like I'm almost home, and it's kind of a funny story. So my dad was born and raised in Parma, Idaho, which I'm sure all of you know where that is, just down the road. So I've got a lot of roots from around here. I've got some family that farm between here and Nissa. The Hansons, I don't know if any of you know Hansons. And then technically, I guess by marriage, I'm related to a guy named J.D. Bounds, who was a state officer from Nissa a couple of years ago. So I've got some roots, and it's kind of cool to be back here and be around people that knew my family. I was walking in, and Mr. Spielman goes, "You look like a Hanson." And I was like, "Well, you're close." So Hansons were my grandparents. But I'm happy to be here. A little funny story for you. One time, I was headed out to Parma, maybe 9 or 10 years old. We're going to visit my grandparents, and we're driving, and there's these fields with these big old wood stands. Hops grow on them. And my dad was, hops are, grown to use in making beer. And then a lot of them are used, and then the leftovers are used for livestock feed. And I remember him telling me about it, and for some reason, I got it confused with marijuana. I was like, I got home and I was telling my teacher about my summer trip. They're like, what'd you do this summer? And I was like, well, we went to Idaho, and I visited my grandparents, and there were fields and fields of marijuana. And I didn't know any better, but so I'm out here in the land of hops or marijuana. So this past March, I had the opportunity to go to Oregon FFA State Convention. I was invited by the state president, Courtney Lehman, whose grandparents also live in Parma. Kind of funny connection there again. And I got to go, and we were at the Ned Ledoux concert. You guys go to the Ned Ledoux concert? Yeah, it was good. Oh, such a fan, totally a fan. And so we go to the concert, and there's a bunch of people swing dancing in the back, and I'm like, oh, I'll be back there. I love swing dancing. It's actually kind of funny. In my mind, every state officer has to know how to swing dance, because that's how it is in Utah. And when I moved out there, I didn't know a lick about swing dance, and I can tell you that much right now. But I practiced, and so I went back, and I met this kid that was just swinging all over the dance floor, Mr. Kirk. He was, he's not even up here. There he is. Somewhere around. Oh, there he is. And gosh dang, he was just looking like a pro back there. So I had to go talk to him and introduce myself, and by the end of the night, we'd been swing dancing for like 2 hours straight, and my arms were tired, and I'd met just about everybody in the Adrian FFA chapter. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I got invited here. But it was great. Super happy to be here. So I'd like to tell you just a couple stories, and hopefully you can get my message. And I have a message about attitude. Your attitude is the key to becoming successful. So I'll tell you about how I ended up in the Beehive state of Utah. So it was June of 2016. I had just come home from a trip we went to Washington, D.C. with the Rural Electric Cooperative. They send a couple kids out from the county every year. And I just got home, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I get home, throw my bags on the floor, and my dad's like, "All right, family gathering." And I was like, okay, that's pretty normal on a Sunday night, family gathering. So we all get in the living room. Well, then he calls my brother on the phone, puts him on speaker, and sets him on the table. I was like, well, that's kind of funny. My brother was out at school at BYU in Utah, and so we start having this family meeting. My dad goes, I don't think we're going to be able to go out to visit you this summer, Wyatt. Are you going to come home and see us? And he goes, no, I just think I'm going to stay here and work. And he's like, well, good thing you don't have to come visit, because we're moving out to Salt Lake. And my jaw just about hit the floor. I was like, what? My dad likes to pull a lot of jokes, and so I kind of thought he was kidding with us, but sure enough, he was real. He accepted a job in Salt Lake City, and I can't tell you at that time when's the last time I cried, but by golly, there were tears streaming down my face because I was just shook. It was my senior year of high school. I was going to be a 13-year senior at Pleasant Hope. I was going to get my PhD, Pleasant Hope diploma. Both my brothers had theirs, and I was just going to miss out. I had everything lined up. We're going to win state in farm management. I was going to run for state office. I was going to go to Missouri State University, major in ag education. I had the whole thing figured out. And instead, I was getting ripped up, and we were traveling across the desert, just like the pioneers with the hand carts. Except we had a U-Haul truck, so that was pretty nice. But sure enough, we made our way out to Utah, and all summer long, I had the worst attitude. I wouldn't help. I'd get home from work, I'd go down to my room, turn on the Blue Bloods and watch a little bit of TV, maybe do some chores, feed the calves, and that's it. I refused to help. I refused to help finish the bathroom. I wouldn't pack boxes. I wouldn't do anything. And my mom couldn't make me. My dad could, but he was in Utah, so I just kind of, played along with it. Well, finally we made it out. I remember we arrived in Salt Lake City, 4 p.m., absolute worst time to ever be there because it's rush hour, and it was August 16th. And that night, my dad came and picked me up from my uncle's house, and we went for a drive. And he says, Ryan, you've had a terrible attitude. It's just been horrible. You haven't helped at all with moving out here, and I think you really need to change your attitude. And he says, you can start your senior year here next week, and you can have a terrible year, you can have a stinky attitude, and you know what, you'll be miserable. And then 5 years from now, you'll look back and you'll think, wow, I just had a horrible senior year, and I regret it. He said, or you can change your mind right now. You can have a great attitude. You can make the best of the situation that your life is in, and you can be successful. And I just kind of rolled my eyes and was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do. And I went on with my day. Well, laying in bed that night, I was thinking, I hate to admit it because my dad always thinks he's right, but he really was right this time. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to change my attitude because I really do want to be successful. So I decided right then and there that I was going to have a good senior year. And I also decided that I was going to pursue my dream of running for state office. I moved to a new state, different FFA program. In Missouri, it was about 45 kids in my grade, kind of a school like this size. Half the high school was in FFA. In Utah, my high school was 2,900 kids in the student body, grades 10 through 12, so we didn't even have freshmen. And we had about 60 FFA members, and on a good day, 30 of them would show up. So it was a big change, but I decided that's what I wanted to do. So I emailed our executive secretary. I was like, hey, can I run for state office? I'm going to be here my whole senior year. And she's like, well, according to the bylaws and constitution, as long as you graduate from Utah, you're good to go. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And so I went to work learning about Utah FFA. And I had a good attitude the whole time. And that's honestly what changed the entire course of my senior year. I decided that I was going to be successful. And sometimes we like to want to be successful. Every year, New Year's, everyone's talking about starting a new year, having new goals. Well, it's pretty easy for us to say, oh man, I really want to go to the gym and work out and be all slim and have a nice body for summertime. Or I really want to get all A's in school this year. Or I really want to be a varsity starter on the baseball team. Whatever it might be. But none of that is going to happen unless you decide that you're going to want it bad enough to achieve it. And that's kind of my message I'd like to share with you guys is that Your attitude determines everything that you can succeed in life, and you have to decide to change your attitude to be successful. So, along with that, I was at the dealership the other day getting my oil changed, and I was sitting there. I had like an FFA shirt on, I had the emblem on it, and this old guy comes up to me and he sits down and he goes, I was in the FFA about 50 years ago in Lehigh, Utah, and I got he sat there and couldn't remember for a minute. He goes, the state degree, and I was like, oh yeah, the state degree chain. He's like, yeah, I got mine. I was the first one from my chapter in 1962 to get the state FFA degree. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And the whole 45 minutes to an hour that I was there getting my oil change, he just sat and told me about everything that he'd done in the FFA and everything that it had done for him. And it really just opened my eyes, because this guy's 72 years old. He's lived a full life. He's got kids and grandkids and even one great-grandchild. And he is sitting here telling me about all the things the FFA did for him. And I want you guys to know that you're now here in the FFA chapter, and you're going through it in high school, and the things that you do now in your life will help you for years to come, and there'll be things that you remember 70 years down the road when you're his age. And I can also tell you that the things that you learn in this organization are not just important to the ag industry, but they're things that can help you become a better leader, a better citizen, and a better friend to the people that you're around. So I want you guys to remember that your attitude determines how successful that you'll be, and that you can learn things in this organization that you can carry with you the rest of life. The second piece of advice I want to give you is that now more than ever, is at the time in your life in high school, are people more willing to help you. I can't even tell you, people will jump out of their chairs to help high school students that show interest in any field. It could be sports, it could be FFA, it could be FCCLA, it could be church, it could be a job, it could be anything. But now more than ever, are people willing to help you if you show interest. And if you put in just a little bit of effort, they will hop all over that, and they will help you grow that interest. And that, again, it goes back to deciding to show interest in something. It goes back to deciding to be successful. And that's what I want you guys to remember. I don't want to take up too much more time, but I'm super grateful to be able to be here with you guys tonight. I've been telling people, I'm going up to Oregon this weekend. Like, what the heck are you doing all the way up in Oregon? It's like a 7-hour drive up there. And I was like, I'm going to an FFA banquet. And they're like, well, shoot, there must be some pretty special people to drive all the way up there. And I can tell you what, there's some pretty special people here. And I'm happy to be able to come and grateful that I was able to make it. So thank you so much, and good luck this year.